How long can I survive in this MMORPG experience without dying? Well, apparently not very long. Erenshor is a retro-style simulated MMORPG where the NPCs aren't just filler characters. They level up, they sell you gear, and even resurrect you if you die. But what if I took all of that and threw it in the bin? What if you delete your character the moment that you died? What if you refuse to touch the auction house in true Iron Man style? And what if your sim companions were forbidden from leveling without you? That is the challenge the actual developer of Erenshor gave to me, and today I'm attempting to complete it. The goal: reach max level, no deaths, no auction house, no help, unless it's earned. And so begins the tale of Elahrion, noble paladin and soon to be serial corpse. We begin, as all great tales do, with hope, ambition and immediate failure. Elahrion set foot into these cursed shores with the kind of naive optimism only a freshly rolled paladin could muster. He disembarked from the longship, eyes wide, armour gleaming, and ready to bring holy justice to this digital world. Then, within minutes, he accidentally slapped some shady bloke loitering behind a building straight in the face. Not on purpose. Unfortunately, the locals aren't big on second chances or explanations. The man responded with a swift and merciless death sentence. And thus, Elahrion I was deleted. Gone. Wiped from existence like an unwanted alt. But his legacy, that lived on. Enter Elahrion II. A little more cautious, a little more humble, and now carrying ancestral trauma like those quest items that get stuck in your inventory. This Elahrion actually made it off the dock alive, which was progress. He met a band of thrill-seeking adventurers and ventured into a nearby bandit cave. The plan? Get gear, get glory, and get out. What happened instead? In a 3 versus 1 fight with the odds stacked in his favour, our shirtless paladin hero once again underestimated his own mortality. One mistimed pull, one slightly too bold swing of the sword, and boom, Elahrion II joined his predecessor in the afterlife. And thus was born the third incarnation. Elahrion III was smarter, stronger, arguably slightly more traumatised. He joined a full 4-player squad this time, pushed deeper into the same bandit cave that had claimed his predecessor, and even helped slay the boss with ease. With a fellow paladin now tanking, things were going to plan. They even discovered a hidden dungeon, complete with spirits, new loot, fast progression, caution. That was until the tank decided to the entire thing. One moment she was there, the next she was pulling half the dungeon. I was frantically spamming her to regroup, while our healer's keyboard would have been melting from the pressure. With enemies coming from every direction and no taunt in sight, the group fell into utter chaos. I tried running, I tried fighting, I tried praying, and just as we began to stabilise, a rogue spirit chased me down and smacked the last shred of life out of Elahrion III. After nearly an entire hour of progress, he was gone, just like the rest. 3 Elahrions, 3 failures, a legacy of loss, a lineage of bad luck. But from the ashes, a new hero would rise, more paranoid, more scarred, and more determined than ever. Elahrion IV. He wasn't here to slap NPCs or solo bandits with his chest out. He had one goal: survive. And this time, we were getting off this cursed island. Elahrion IV didn't spawn. He descended. Reborn into the world like some divine patch notes, correcting everything that came before him. Scarred by the sins of his ancestors, and armed with the sacred knowledge of don't start fights that you can't finish. He stepped off the ship like a man who had seen too much, because in a way he had. His soul had already been deleted 3 times. This Elahrion was different, wiser, cautious, paranoid even. His new mantra, don't die, don't trust anyone, And for the love of the gods, don't slap strangers. The gods, clearly impressed by his newfound restraint, allowed him to leave the docks. From there, Elahrion found his destiny. Not in glorious solo combat or divine intervention, but in micromanaging a group of simulated AI teammates, like some kind of toxic raid leader. He assembled a squad, a beefy paladin tank to scout ahead, a druid healer who hopefully wasn't on their first day, and a duelist damage dealer who looked like they'd kill you for fun and look good doing it. Elahrion added them to his friends list to lock their level progression to his. If he wasn't online, neither were they. If he didn't level up, neither did they. Misery loves company, and this squad was coming along for the ride, whether they liked it or not. With the rules of engagement set, no deaths, no auction house, no sim leveling, we returned to the bandit cave. The same cave that haunted the Elahrion family tree. And this time, we were ready. Things started well. Enemies fell, loot dropped, and nobody got deleted within the first 10 minutes. Meanwhile, our tank Eva Lee was swinging around a two-handed mining axe like she was preparing for a union strike. Not exactly standard paladin equipment. But given that her biceps were larger than mine, and she had the energy of someone who's won at least one bar fight with a spoon, I didn't argue with her. We carried on, hitting level 5, then 6. The cave was cleared, skeletons were dealt with, and for the first time in this entire godforsaken saga, we actually had some clothes. Elahrion wasn't just surviving now, he was thriving. With our team stronger, and Eva Lee now wielding a proper weapon, thank the gods, we returned to the dungeon that had killed Elahrion III. This time, things were different. Eva Lee led the charge like an absolute unit, our healer kept everyone upright, bosses fell, spirits were exercised, gear was looted. I even tried to get a quest from a suspicious group of NPCs standing around an altar, and I accidentally attacked them instead. Just to clarify, I was trying to ask them quest, instead I pressed Q, I smacked the leader in the face, and chaos erupted. 4 enemies turned on me instantly. My group clearly thinking, this idiot again, offered minimal support. I ran through corridors, around corners, down hallways. More enemies joined the chase, and I escaped by the skin of my holy teeth. But I lived, and that's what mattered. We cleared the dungeon task. Eva Lee nearly killed us with another premature pull, but we managed to pull through. At last, we were ready to leave the cursed starter island. After cautiously negotiating with a sailor, because nothing is ever safe in this game, the mainland of Erenshor awaited. New dungeons, new chances of death, new reasons to run away screaming. But for now, Elahrion IV was alive, geared, and dare I say it, confident. And that's when things started to go terribly wrong. Arriving on the mainland really felt like crossing into a new chapter of the journey. Gone were the bandit caves of the starter island, gone were the ghosts of Elahrion's past. Now it was time for the pits, a dark, unknown and terrifying cave system filled with all sorts of red-skinned horrors, angry bosses and loot-hungry players. We dove in head first, we cleared the cave, we took down every boss we could find, and then one particularly freaky red abomination tried to ruin our day. We actually worked together like a proper group, the healer healing, the DPS burning, the tank, well, tanking. And things were going so well. And then I made a mistake. We ventured into a new zone. I asked Eva Lee, our beloved buff as hell paladin tank, to pull a new type of enemy, an ancient guardian. Just one, for science. What followed was less science and more massacre. The guardian charged, swinging like an angry god. In seconds, Eva Lee was paced. The rest of the group followed, one by one, their simulated lives blinking out, while I, Elahrion, did what I do best. I ran, like the coward I am. I didn't even hesitate. I didn't look back once. There was no honour in it, but there was survival. And that's kind of the whole point. After that, I had a decision to make. Evilly, bless her, had been with us since the early days. She pulled hard, she hit harder. But when your tank pulls too many enemies and is dying with the confidence of someone trying to speedrun death itself, you start asking questions. Big questions. Like, do I become the tank? And so, well, I did. I kicked Evilly from the group, not out of malice, but out of survival. We needed variety in this squad. One paladin was enough. And if someone had to lead the charge from now on, it had to be me. This opened a spot in the team. We needed a new class, and we found Mirage, an Arcanist, slightly underleveled, but full of potential. She joined the squad, and I swapped out my two-hander for a one-hand and shield combo. The era of Tank Elahrion had begun. With a new setup, we dove back into the bone pits. I was now leading the charge, and to my surprise, it worked. I was tanking, I was surviving, we were climbing levels, 13, 14, and even unlocked some much needed spells from the Paladin trainer back in Port Azure. I'd made it to level 14 with only 3 abilities. 3! No wonder I kept running away from fights like a knight with commitment issues. With spells in hand and confidence rising, we returned to the Dusk and Light coast. But we made a vow. Never touch the Ancient Guardians again. Instead, we hunted for safer XP. We found Nagaloks, ugly lizard things that died quickly and gave great experience. Perfect. We climbed to level 15, then 16, then walked up a hill and then made the rookie mistake of trying to kill the Molarai. Instant regret. I was this close to death, hammering my heal key like it was a slot machine, sweating through my holy armour. We survived, barely, and promptly returned to the Nagaloks like the cowards we proudly are. That's when we found the Nagalok cave boss named Spike. I caved to greed and challenged him. He nearly deleted me from the timeline, but our healer came in clutch and just managed to keep me alive. Mirage was beginning to prove herself. Evilly was still DMing me asking to come back, sorry but no. And for once, we actually took down the Ancient Guardian that had wiped us earlier. It was revenge. It was glorious. And it was immediately followed by me abandoning my group again, when some giants showed up near the zone exit. Look, I told them, no death challenge. They just didn't listen. But Elahrion IV was still alive. And more importantly, he was beginning to believe. Not in the group, not in some grand destiny, just in his own ability to stay alive by running away at the perfect moment. And honestly, that's kind of heroism too. With the Guardian slain and my confidence rising, it was time to grind. Not just levels, but gear, authority, and if we're being honest, my self-image as the group's rock-solid leader. We pressed deeper into the world of Erenshor, charging through quest lines, slaying bosses, and stocking up on weapons like it was Black Friday. One of our first new challenges was a wandering boss in a low-level zone. Strange, out of place, suspicious, and yes, incredibly dangerous. We ran, again. Later, we returned and cleared it. And then we went on to start our hunt for the next XP buffet. That's when we discovered the Lost Cellar. A dungeon with decent XP, serious boss fights, and the kind of cramped corridors that give tanks like me anxiety. Things were going well until the Kingsguard decided to show up and ruin everyone's day. Mirage, our trusty Arcanist, had one job: do damage and don't die. Instead, she wandered into a patrol and got 2 popped like a drinks can in the sun. Freya followed shortly after, falling victim to another wandering guard while we were trying to sneak out the cave. The rest of us barely escaped with our lives. I'm not sure what it is about that dungeon, but it knocked our confidence. We needed gear, and fast. Things got awkward when our healer started catching heat in general chat. I still don't know what she said or did while I was offline, but the sim players were tearing into her like it was a new Korean MMORPG being announced on Reddit. Honestly, it was hilarious. Watching AI NPCs argue in the chat like angry teenagers was not on my Erenshor bingo card, but here we are. Truly an immersive experience. Despite the social toxicity and constant threat of being miraged, i.e. instantly dying to random enemies, our grind continued. We cleared the Sea King, hunted roaming bosses, and staked out the Cave of Nagalox that became our home for a little while. The loot was solid, the XP was decent, and the fear of sudden death was just high enough to keep me alert. We challenged the Ancient Guardians again. This time, we actually won. And then, out of nowhere, my team dropped one by one, while I, in a burst of heroic self-preservation, bolted for the exit. After the narrow escape, and a few awkward silences in group chat, and more deaths by Mirage, I made the tough call. Mirage just had to go. Her DPS was fine, her vibe was unproblematic, but she couldn't stay alive if her life depended on it. And in this case, it literally did. We needed stability. So I brought in Vesper, a more reliable, slightly toxic player who shared Mirage's level, but not her tendency to roleplay as a corpse. The team started clicking. We cleared the Mino Cave, dealt with rock sprites, ran from dinosaur-looking nightmares, and sprinted past bosses who appeared out of thin air like a horror movie jump scare. Mirage DM'd me asking to come back. I said nothing. Around this time, I finally decided to take a break. My group, bless their little programmed hearts, continued grinding without me. My team power leveled me from 27 to 30 just by sharing party XP. This is true leadership. Delegation. When I came back, we went boss hunting with a new level of confidence. Spells were flying, enemies were being frozen, but confidence is a tricky thing. It can turn to terror real quick when a swarm of enemies decide to crash the party. We survived. I gathered my group. We climbed the peaks of the mountain, prepared for a dramatic boss encounter, only to discover I hadn't progressed the quest quite far enough. We turned around. We took the walk of shame, a long trek back to where we'd started. No one said a word. Well, apart from Eva Lee, who was still DMing me. She hadn't let it go. I hadn't replied. It was the MMO equivalent of ghosting your ex-girlfriend. With level 30 behind us, and the shattered remains of Mirage's dignity somewhere back in the forest, it was time to take on the world with a renewed focus. Elahrion IV was heading for greatness. We entered fallen Braxonia, a place where loot dreams live, and paladin tanks come to take the beating of their lives. The mobs hit like freight trains. Every pull felt like a boss fight. We danced with danger, dragging out fights like they were dramatic cutscenes. Even the librarians were aggressive. Imagine a place so cursed, the literal knowledge keepers try to one-shot you for checking the wrong shelf. In true Braxonia fashion, we stumbled across an indoor campfire that would have failed every building code imaginable. Then, while trying to leave the area, presumably alive, I got pulled into a final chaotic encounter that nearly wiped me. Once again, survival wasn't about courage. It was about knowing exactly when to dip out of a fight. We diverted briefly into a hidden underground dungeon. There were 3 wings. Wing 1 was fine, that was until Freya got stuck on absolutely nothing. I kicked her from the group, re-invited her out of guilt, and she thanked me by pulling the entire dungeon to my face. I survived, barely, again. Wing 2 was a jump in difficulty. Bosses are swinging like they had something to prove. Freya and Vesper got jumped by a wall-dwelling ghost I didn't even know was there. I tried to tank kill it solo, but my damage output was so bad I might as well have been slapping it with a stale baguette. We ran. Again. Absolute classic. Attempt 3 in the hidden dungeon. A disaster. Our healer, who had been the MVP until now, decided to play scout, pulled 3 enemies, got one banged, and left me staring down a death screen. But I didn't die, because I ran so fast Usain Bolt would have been taking notes. After 4 rounds of trial and error, we finally cleared the dungeon, hit level 31, and even picked up a new weapon that made Scrubby DM me just to say how much he loved it. Cheers, Scrubby. Really needed that. We stuck with Vithio's Rest. The XP was great, and the loot even better. Somewhere between killing eldritch horrors and dodging wall huggers, we looted a planar stone worth 1 million gold. 1 million. Did it help us? Not at all. We weren't using the auction house, but it made me feel rich. We crafted some charms, lit braziers, opened secret wings of the dungeon, and hunted abominations. Somewhere in that chaos, we dinged level 35, the level cap. We had made it. The challenge in a technical sense was complete. But then we started to get greedy. We started pushing late game bosses, portals, giants, fires. At one point, we helped a cat, accepted a task from a mystical deer, and almost got incinerated by the environment. We looted another planar stone worth 1 million gold, which now made me rich in spirit and inventory clutter. Not that it mattered. The auction house remained untouched, like some forbidden fruit on a glowing pedestal. The boss fell beneath our blades. We crossed the map one final time, trekking to Ripper's Keep to finish a hit job that somehow still lingered in my journal. We climbed to the top to face Ripper de Mirth herself, at the request of a Port-Azure guard captain who casually asked me to assassinate her. I expected a tough fight. What I got was my group standing around, sipping virtual tea, watching me 1v1 a boss like this was my personal trial by fire. I won, barely, took her ear, ran like hell from her clan. Standard Elahrion protocol. Then came the final arc. Selûne's Landing, the Holy Land, the sacred home of the Paladins. I accidentally attacked a Protector NPC. I had no idea who was hostile and who just looked hostile. The Protector kicked my teeth in while the group watched. Eventually they healed me, but only after enjoying the show for far too long. I approached Ravel, the first Paladin, for guidance and holy wisdom. Instead he picked a fight, classic MMO mentor energy. In the final stretch, we prepared to face the final challenge, the endgame of Erenshor. Callista started flaming one of my group members the second we arrived in the chat. The AI does not hold back in this game. We entered the ditch. I taunted and attacked the final enemies, the Stardust. And my group, well, they didn't help, again. I soloed all 9 of them over what felt like an hour. And then, like a dramatic anime villain, Astera appeared. I was ready. I stepped forward, faith in my team. And then Freya. Freya aggroed the final boss by accident and got slapped into another dimension. It left me scrambling. My healer couldn't recover fast enough. My taunts were on cooldown. And with one final hit, Elahrion IV was dead. The challenge over. When Elahrion IV finally fell, after 50 hours, 35 levels, dozens of dungeons, hundreds of near deaths, and at least 1 million gold of loot that I couldn't use, I just couldn't do it. I stared at the delete character button like it had personally insulted my family. This wasn't just a character anymore, this was Elahrion. I couldn't delete him. Elahrion had become more than a character. He was a journey, a symbol of perseverance, cowardice, and dodging aggro like a professional. A legacy of near deaths, NPC betrayals, emergency dodges, terrible teammates, and some of the most nostalgic MMORPG vibes I've felt in years. Elahrion will return, probably in another game, probably to die again. But one thing's for sure, he's not done yet. So what do I actually think of Erenshor? It surprised me, in the best way possible. It's not technically an MMORPG, but it definitely feels like one. I played 50 hours in just over a week, and I honestly can't remember the last time that I did that. It was nostalgic, immersive, and just chaotic enough to keep me hooked. But it's not perfect, and that's why we're going to give a bit of a score for this game. I was completely engaged between the challenge, the grind, and the stupid things my group did. It felt like being back in the early 2000s. A proper throwback MMO vibe. The Steam reviews for this game are overwhelmingly positive. People love the laid-back, no FOMO feel of a solo MMORPG, especially one that lets you take your time. This is as pure as it gets. No shop, no boosts, no whales. It's just buy once, play forever. Very refreshing. It's still brand new, so no legacy yet, but it's unique and could become a cult classic for retro MMO fans. The journey did feel meaningful. You level slowly, gear matters, and you grow stronger over time. But it can be grindy, and the pacing definitely isn't for everyone. Retro is one thing, but combat does feel rough. Repetitive rotations, long buff uptimes, and not much tactical decision making. It works, but it's not the highlight. There is easily 50 to 100 hours of content, depending on how you set up your admin settings. plus mod support if you want more. It's not infinite, but it's more than enough to justify the price. It's not an MMORPG, but it simulates one better than most MMOs do these days. The AI systems are weirdly alive, and it nails the early 2000s feel better than you'd expect. This is a solo dev project, and you can feel the passion. There's regular updates, open roadmaps, constant community interaction, huge respect. It's not going to dethrone the giants, but Erenshor is definitely a game that is worth trying. It gave us a story, it gave us chaos, it gave us Elahrion, a paladin, who ran from danger more than he faced it, but somehow made it to the finish line. I'll remember him, and I'll remember this game. Coming up next, we'll have a new MMORPG, a new challenge, and probably a new death. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye for now.